Welcome to my course, Game Development Basics, Week 5, Lesson 10, Week 5 Wrap-Up. In this lesson, we're going to fix some various bugs that I've discovered in our project, and then we'll create a player ship respawn function that will allow us to respawn additional ships. Then I'm going to create a gameplay timer that'll just allow us to keep track of how long the game is going on. And finally, we'll just spend a little bit of time cleaning up all of our blueprints before we move on to week 6. And these are just a couple of the bugs that I've discovered, so I'm going to go through them. You may find some additional bugs that we've created. If you do, please leave a note in the comments and I'll help you work through it. The first one is the player movement speed. Now, I noticed when I was playing my game that the ship seems to move a little bit slow for my taste. Especially when you're trying to dodge the chasers, it seems like it's a little bit difficult. So here in our player ship, we have a character movement component, and we can click on this. Even though in our game it looks like we're flying, technically we're using the walking movement. So we can update the walk speed to something like 1500. Now you can test around to see what value feels right for you. This one seemed to feel like what I would want for a game like this. And I've also increased the acceleration of the player, and this will allow us to start moving more quickly, and it'll be a little bit less sluggish when we try to start moving the ship. And now this feels a lot better to me. I feel much more agile, the way that I would want to in a game like this. And dodging these chaser enemies is much simpler than it was before. The second bug I noticed is that when we interact with the trigger box, these darter enemies are no longer moving. And it's actually an interesting bug that's being caused by these triggers. So when we spawn one of our enemies at one of these locations, it's trying to find a point in front of it. And it cannot because this trigger is actually in the way. The easiest fix that I found for this was here in our AI handling on our enemy base. We have this value set to 5,000. If we just make a smaller number here, something like 500, the bug actually goes away because now these ships are only looking 500 units in front of them and there's nothing blocking it when it goes to that point. And the last bug that I want to fix is having to do with our projectile. When we shoot an enemy, the projectile continues to pass through it even though it has done damage to that ship. What I want to do is actually destroy the projectile once it does damage to the ship. So here in my projectile base, after we apply damage, I just added the destroy actor node, and now after we apply damage, we will destroy that bullet. The next thing I want to do is create a player ship respawn. So when the player ship becomes damaged to where its health is 0, I want to destroy that ship and then create a new ship into our level. So here in player ship, we have this any damage death processing. And then if is dead, we put this print string here as a placeholder. Let's delete that. And I want to create a new function called death processing. And here I want to destroy actor self. So this will destroy this ship in the level. But I want to be able to start the respawn function, and I'm going to handle this through player camera. And here's where we're spawning our ship. So I want to create a new custom event. I'm going to call this ship destroyed. And I want to set timer by event and drag this event into here. And for the time, let's set it to 3 seconds to start. And we can actually drag this off and promote it to a variable, and I'll call this respawn timer. So now when our ship is destroyed, we're going to wait 3 seconds, and then we will spawn a new ship. Now here, we want to call this event. So let's get a reference to our camera, and we'll call the ship destroyed event here, and then we'll destroy this actor. Then that should wait 3 seconds. When this is called, our player camera will start a timer for 3 seconds and then spawn a new ship. And we can also create a condition where we check for the number of lives. So we can create a new variable called number of ships, and this could be an integer, and we can check if this is greater than 0. If it is, we'll remove one ship from the total ships remaining, and then we'll start our timer. Let's set this to 2. And here we just need to add death processing onto this true. And just so that I could actually kill the player, I added a lot more enemies into the level. And now we'll see here that if we interact with all these, we'll die and then we'll respawn. We'll see that we have a couple bugs now. One is that when we die, our weapons are left behind. And 2 is that even after we die, the enemy ships are still trying to find something in the level that isn't there. And we'll see we have a bunch of errors. So here in death processing, let's get a reference to our active weapons, and we'll create a for each loop. And we can actually duplicate this destroy actor. And here we'll destroy all of the weapons, and then we'll destroy the ship. So that fixes the weapon bug. The other bug is being caused by our BP chaser. What it is that after the player dies, it's still trying to find that player. And we can fix this after set player. We can get a reference to player, and we can check is valid. If it is valid, we'll attempt to do the AI movement. If it's not valid, we can do a delay of 1 second and then start AI handling again. Now when we die, our weapons are destroyed and the enemies no longer act strangely. They'll start to come after the player after it respawns. And similar to how we did this here, we need to fix it anywhere else that we have a reference to this player's ship. Now we can right click and say find references, and we can see all of them here. But this is just in this class. If we go to our player's ship and right click, we can see that there's a reference viewer. Now this gives us a view of everywhere where we're referencing this player's ship, and that's all these ones to the left. Then to the right is everywhere that this player's ship is referencing. So we can go into each of these and find references to player's ship and add that same is valid check. So now we've fixed that bug, and we can see that when our player ship dies, we're no longer getting those errors. The last thing I want to do in this lesson is just set up a quick gameplay timer, and this will allow us to keep track of how long the game is going on, and we can use this in the lessons for next week. So here in BP game mode, I'm just going to add a variable called gameplay timer, and this will be an integer. And then I created a function called update gameplay timer that just takes gameplay timer and adds 1 to it. And then on begin play, I'm doing a set timer by function name, update gameplay timer, and setting it to 1 second and looping. Now I want to create another folder for UI, and I want to create a widget, and we'll call this WBP HUD. And let's see if you can remember how to create this widget that'll show the timer. And this is nothing we haven't done before, so I'm just going to create this widget to show the timer in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. And now we have a timer in the top of our screen. So this wraps up week 5 of our course. I hope you had a lot of fun. I hope you're still learning a lot. And in week 6, we're going to continue to add on to this project and learn some new features of Unreal Engine. So I'll see you in week 6, and thank you for watching.